During the Path of Exile 2 announcement stream and the recent interviews, we got quite a lot of information about the endgame of Path of Exile 2. So today I want to talk about how will we be progressing our Atlas and how farming strategies will even look like in PoE 2, because I think they will be much different from what they were in PoE 1. Also, I'm not going to talk about the basic mechanics of the Atlas, so for example, what are these towers, what are Waystones, and so on. I want to focus more on what we can do with these things rather than what they are. So let's start with this screenshot. This was taken from the official reveal and it was shown only for a few seconds, so you might have missed it. And it also showed the NPC that is going to be helping us through our Atlas progression. But if you don't want to know who it is, I decided to censor it in here. But what this NPC will do is it will give us these quests. And every time you complete this quest, you will get 2 Atlas passive points. You were shown that after this you get a book, and that book gives us 2 points. And we don't know exactly how many maps we will have to complete for each quest, but here we can see that you have to complete 10 maps. Maybe for tier 1 you have to complete, for the first quest you have to complete 5 tier 1 maps, maybe for tier 2 you have to complete 8 and 10 and so on, or maybe it's just always 10, we don't know, but it's gonna be quite a lot of maps to complete to reach maximum tier of maps. And also, judging by how many Atlas passive points we get per quest, which is 2 points, and maximum is 30, I assume there will be 15 tiers of maps, maybe 16, but if there is 16, that would mean that you only have quests for 15 tiers, and 16 doesn't give any additional Atlas points. So when you reach tier 15s, your Atlas is going to be completed. And also, of course, on your way, you're gonna allocate some Atlas passive points, and you will probably want to focus on the ones that help you with your progression. So additional monsters in maps. In the past, in PoE 1, we would focus on things that give you additional chance that the maps you drop are higher tiers and maybe just more map drops. So if there are any points in here like this for waypoint tiers and waypoint drops, you will probably want to focus on them early on to speed up your Atlas progression. And speaking of Waystones, we don't know how easily it is going to be to sustain them. We know that increasing the amount of suffixes you have on Waystone increases the drop chance of Waystone, but even with that, let's say you make them rare and you have a lot of Waystone drop chance, we still might not be able to sustain higher tier ones. If you have been playing PoE 1 for a long time, you know that in the past, sustaining tier 16s like it is right now in PoE 1 was not really heard of. What we were doing is we were farming like tier 11s, tier 12s, and then while doing that, maybe for a few hours, you would find enough tier 13s to farm them for like 1 hour, and then farming tier 13s for 1 hour, you would find enough tier 14s to farm them for maybe half an hour, and so on. So we are not sustaining our higher tier ones. We were only getting few of them, and tier 16 maps or even 15s were going for like 50k or so. They were pretty expensive, and I actually kind of like that. I like strategies about farming higher tier maps or just buying them and running them yourself. So maybe in PoE 2 that's gonna be the same thing. Maybe we will reach like tier 10s, tier 11s, and at that point you will no longer be able to sustain them. You'll just have to farm these ones and occasionally just drop additional tier 12s and tier 13s. And the reason why I think that's going to be the case is because of how it would synergize with tablets and overall just doing your maps on the Atlas. Because think about it this way, what if you are progressing and exploring your Atlas, maybe you're just trying to find towers and so on, then you can just use lower tier maps, let's say tier 10s, 11s, assuming they would be easily sustainable like it was in the past, and you would start here, you would just do tier 10 here, 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 you would just use tier 10s until you reach like certain point, or maybe while you are trying to reach all of these towers, so you would do tier 10, tier 10, tier 10 here, tier 10 here for a tablet, for the tower. I actually don't know if you will have to use a Waystone for the tower. Is it like a separate encounter? Do you can do it separately, or do you have to use a Waystone? I don't know. We'll have to see. Then you would go, maybe actually you would want to skip this one because it has 2 encounters. So maybe you would go somehow around it. Maybe you'll go through here. And actually you would not even be able to do it this way. This is kind of annoying that you have to go through here. But maybe you would reach this tower, then you would go here, do this tower, then you would go all the way around, reach this one, and then this one. And then once you do that with like all tier 10s, then you would use your tablets, and all of the maps that you have with just one mechanic, you would use, let's say, tier 12 Waystones, and then you have some tier 13s, you would use them on some mechanics, some maps that have two mechanics, and then maybe you overlapped some of the tablets and you got some with three or maybe even four, or we actually don't even know if the same ones can stack on top of each other. So for example, the one that adds breach, if it can apply multiple times, so let's say here you can add even one more breach, so there would be two breaches with this effect. We don't know that. That's something we'll have to figure out. But yeah, basically I hope that we will have to like on the way decide which tiers of maps we want to go for. So if there's not that many mechanics, we go for lower ones, and if you find something crazy, maybe a map that has a boss like this one, and you also add Delirium, add the Ritual, add the Breach, and then you're like, okay, that's a crazy map. Now I'm gonna use my tier 15. I'm also gonna add some Distilled Emotions from Delirium, and maybe use 6 mods, so make, of course, the Waystone rare, maybe even Valid. I actually don't know if we can Val Waystones. I assume we can. Kind of makes sense that we are going to be able to do that. And yeah, then just do fully juiced map, but only do it occasionally. And then when it comes to the strategies, I think the main differences between strategies are going to be three things. First one is just going and exploring the atlas without just juicing, just going as far as you can because of these special nodes. So you can find things like Tainted Paradise, maybe some different things that just give a lot of loot, maybe the Nameless Seer that also has been revealed, that gives you 1 free unique. So you will want to hunt for just as many of these special maps. So this way you just progress as far as possible. You will not really focus on towers, on tablets. You can sell your tablets if you want to, and so on. So this should be pretty easy, like a yearly endgame strategy. Then another strategy would be to stack, just focus on one mechanic and just stack it as much as possible. So in this case, you would have 4 towers, and let's say you want to just farm breach, you would just use 4 breach tablets. Maybe some of them can overlap and you have multiple breaches on some maps, and some of them would be single ones. One thing what you could do is, let's say in this case, you have 5 towers, you want to have all of these tablets affecting the same map, so you want to juice it as much as possible. So let's say if you look at the range of this tower, it is actually like pretty big, and so this one probably would be able to reach maybe like until here or something, and this one until here. So let's say you want it to affect all of these towers affect the same map, so it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe 6. Maybe these 6 would be your chosen maps that you want all of the tablets to affect. So then you could clear every single other map, and also even fail some of them, the ones that are like at the end. So let's say the last map that these towers reach is this one, so you would complete this, complete this, complete this, and then you could fail technically this one because you don't want to progress further. And then you would guarantee that all of the tablets are gonna affect maps of your choice. But to be honest, I think that strategy is not really going to be worth it because it's gonna take a long time to clear all of these maps. Maybe if some of these maps already have some mechanics, like these ones have the ritual, this one has breach and boss, but to be honest, you probably would not want to clear them because you would want to add even more mechanics to maps like this. So maybe even more optimal strategy would be to actually clear every map that does not have any mechanics. So you go to tower, let's say through here, and then you don't want to clear this, but you want to clear this, you want to clear this, you don't want to clear these ones, but this one, this one, this one, like the maps without any mechanics you would want to clear so that other ones are juiced. But still, that's gonna take a lot of time to clear all of them, so optimization is going to be something we'll have to figure out what is the best choice, just to go for more juiced maps or less juiced maps, but not have to spend as much time on them. And at the end, it might just come down to just personal choice, what you want to do. And another thing that is going to affect this choice are biomes. During one of the interviews, what we were told is that some of these special maps can only appear on certain biomes. So Untainted Paradise, for example, can only appear on a map that is next to a water, and it is in the either forest or jungle biome. I don't remember exactly what we were told, but this kind of looks like a jungle. Maybe it is forest, I don't know. But yes, that's basically it. So if you see some kind of area that has a lot of water and forest, maybe you want to explore that one because you're going to find these. There might be some other ones like Nameless Seer, we don't know exactly where is Nameless here. Maybe it is on the desert biome that is next to some other biome. Maybe there are some, I don't know, shipwrecks or something, and maybe that's where you can find Nameless here. We don't know. That's something we're gonna have to figure out, and there definitely are going to be some spreadsheets about like where you can find certain things. But another important thing about biomes is that some biomes, or I guess all of them, are going to have special drops. So we were not told exactly what does that mean? Like, does that mean only maybe like specific base or divination cards drop in certain biomes, just like in PoE 2? Or is it even more than that? And maybe, I don't know, forest biome drops more weapons, and mountain biomes drop more armor, and desert biome drops more, I don't know, maybe just overall tablets or currency, something. We don't know anything about that, but there definitely are differences in terms of biomes. So again, going back to situation over here, maybe it's actually not really worth to juice up this at all, because all of these maps are in the forest biome, except for maybe this one, which is in the mountains, but most of these are in the forest, and maybe forest has just some overall bad rewards, so maybe it's not even worth going for like juice up tablets. Maybe you will just use whatever tablets you can, and if you hit some overlaps, maybe here you get some 3 or 4 mechanics, you do them. If you don't do them. Tablets, I expect, are gonna be maybe common. We also were told that there are some tablets that are generic ones, not necessarily League mechanic specific, so maybe just tablets that add additional monsters or so on. So you can just use your cheap tablets if you find some biome that you don't really want to run, and then you search the maps for better layouts. Maybe here, maybe mountains are actually very good, and then you find like 3 towers like here, and you use tablets hoping to hit some of these maps, and then you do the mountain, because I don't know, maybe mountain has just some crazy drops. Also, I'm wondering how will that synergize with these special maps. Maybe you can use some towers and buff Untainted Paradise even further, spawn some breaches in Untainted Paradise. That would be crazy. That's something we're gonna have to figure out. And another part of strategies is of course going to be Atlas passive tree. And we know that every single link mechanic has its own Atlas passive tree. So Breach one has a separate one, Ritual has a separate one. And this means that we'll basically be able to specialize in all of them, not like in the past, you would choose like 1, 2, maybe 3 of them and do only these. Now you will be able to do all of them. This is why I think doing things like stacking just different ones might be a little bit better than just doing, let's say, everywhere breach. I think it actually might be better to just do 1 breach, 1 delirium, 1 ritual, and so on, to just have bunch of different mechanics. But I guess we'll have to see. And I do hope that these somehow synergize with each other, because that would buff that strategy even further. Because, for example, already we know that Delirium just buffs overall loot of everything else. So if you have Delirium and Breach, Breach monsters are gonna drop more loot thanks to the Delirium. But what if that's gonna be buff even further? What if the Ritual has some kind of node that gives you 10% quantity for the remainder of the map after you clear a Ritual? So first ritual would give you 10% quantity, second one 20, then 30, and if there is 4 rituals, that would be 40% for the remainder of the map. Then you would, let's say, going back to this screenshot, you would have Delirium and Breach in this map, so you would start a map with going through the Delirium mirror, then clear 1, 2, maybe 3 rituals, and then you would find Breach, and that Breach would be in Delirium and also would be affected by quantity from ritual and so on. So that, I think, would be kind of good. Like figuring out strategies like this. But also, of course, we should be able to just fully focus on just one strategy. This is why I do hope that these tablets are gonna be able to stack on top of each other. So let's say there is 1 breach, and if it chooses this one, there will be 2 breaches in this map. That's something I hope is going to be able to happen, but I guess we'll have to see. And the last thing I want to talk about are the trials, and this is actually something I will want to focus early on. I know everyone will be focusing on mapping. These trials, hopefully, are gonna be decently hard. From what we saw, they looked pretty hard. In PoE 1, Sanctum was easy mostly because of the off-screening and how fast we were moving and freezing enemy and just off-screening everything. It was pretty easy. From what we saw so far from the reviews, it looks much harder, and our characters are not as strong as in PoE 1. So hopefully these are gonna be hard, and Trial of Sekema, which is this one, so the Sanctum one, drops the jewels, and Trial of Chaos drops soul core. So these are probably going to be pretty expensive if not that many people will be farming these. So that's something I will try to focus on early on as much as possible. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you have any more ideas on how do you think strategies will look like in PoE 2, or maybe you already have some specific strategies what you will want to farm, let me know in the comments, and yeah, see you next time.